Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how.
It wasn't just a tense moment. It felt like a spectacle. Sunny Hostin shifted from composed panelist to visibly rattled in what looked more like a primetime showdown than a routine segment. The spark. Greg Gutfeld stepped into the exchange with his trademark grin and a stack of pointed rebuttals. He didn't simply disagree. He methodically challenged her past statements, layering sarcasm over receipts in a way that instantly changed the energy in the room. Viewers could almost feel the temperature rise through the screen.
You look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds...
Hostin, often seen as one of the steadier voices on The View, appeared caught off guard by the intensity of the pushback. Gutfeld's critique wasn't loud, it was precise. That precision seemed to land harder than any shouting match could. What might have been a standard ideological debate turned into something far more personal as Hostin reacted defensively to his commentary.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect this patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well, they want to make sure that their sons do well, they want to make sure that their children do well, and they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full...
To understand the clash, you have to picture the setup. Gutfeld, known for blending policy critique with biting humor, appeared determined to challenge what he framed as moral grandstanding. Rather than sidestepping the argument, he zeroed in on specific claims, dissecting them point by point. Facts were cited, inconsistencies highlighted, and jokes delivered with surgical timing. It was less a shouting contest and more a strategic unraveling of opposing talking points.
I mean, it's one thing, it's going to be so awkward on, new episodes of The View when she tries to pull the race card.
Yes.
And then she's like, America is racist. And then they're like, yeah, they might be racist, but they're not like slave owner racist. like somebody that we...
That's so true.
Hostin's response, however, reflected visible frustration. Accustomed to steering discussions with confidence, she seemed unsettled by being placed under the microscope. The shift in power dynamics was noticeable. Where she typically commands the rhythm of debate, this time she struggled to regain footing. Gutfeld, meanwhile, maintained composure, letting pauses and raised eyebrows amplify his points.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared.
For years, Hostin has cultivated a reputation as a legal mind and moral commentator, someone who frames arguments with authority. But authority can be tested, and in this case it was. Gutfeld's approach suggested that confidence alone isn't immunity from critique. By calmly questioning her consistency, he chipped away at the image of unshakable certainty she often projects.
What would happen if all the women took a ladies' week off and they went to Venus? 4 billion women just went to Venus for a ladies' week, right? Okay. All right? And they came back after a week. How many of these problems would still exist?
Fox News host Greg Gutfeld went off Monday on a sexist rant on The Five. Gutfeld is one of the network's top hosts, and he seemed to suggest that many of the world's problems would be solved if women vanished.
The rampant recidivism that we're putting up with would disappear. I know this is offensive to the judge because she thinks like a dude. But what I'm saying is, we have gotten so soft, and it's because we have decided that somehow discipline and punishment.
Gutfeld's style thrives on undercutting ego with understatement. Instead of escalating emotionally, he leaned into dry humor and deliberate pacing. That contrast may have been the most striking element of the exchange. While Hostin's tone sharpened, Gutfeld's remained steady, reinforcing the perception that he was in control of the moment.
I'm gonna milk this till the end of time. You're right, anytime she says something stupid, I'm gonna slave owner! Kat, I just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? But they had to tell her before, so she had time to read.
The debate eventually centered on accusations of hypocrisy. Gutfeld argued that moral authority requires consistency, implying that selective outrage weakens credibility. Hostin countered by framing his critique as dismissive and unfair. The clash wasn't just about policy, it became about standards, framing, and who gets to define fairness in public discourse.
But you should acknowledge that that is.
Yeah, exactly, because if she is shaming descendants of this, will she continue to do that when she is now one of them, Dana? And it is funny, she's so wrapped up in identity and she had no idea.
What lingered after the segment ended was the contrast in demeanor. Hostin's intensity underscored how personal the exchange felt, while Gutfeld's restrained delivery amplified his arguments. Supporters on both sides flooded social media, each claiming victory. Whether it was a decisive takedown or simply another fiery media clash depends on perspective, but it undeniably added another dramatic chapter to the ongoing rivalry between two outspoken television personalities.